Okay, I have made you co-host.
Okay. You know, what links you were going to be using today?
Yeah, only link for these. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Let me turn our little grooving music off and we will get this party started. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to give folks a few minutes. We've got text going out, but we are live. If you could turn your cameras on, I would appreciate that as well. I see we've got some members in the house as well. Anita, if you could just take a look. Oh, Vanessa, you're outside. I definitely want to see that. I'm in here in my office, so you can allow me to see the lovely outdoors. Well, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Wealth Secrets of First Generation High Earners. We're also streaming live on YouTube. So when I give my YouTube folks a shout out, as well as we are streaming live on LinkedIn. I'm Deborah Owens. I'm founder and CEO of WealthyU, and this is our wealth strategies or wealth secrets, as I like to call them, for first generation high earners. And today I'm going to be respective of your time and make sure that we get through this. But really, the objective is to make sure that you're taking advantage of all the opportunities. And I'll be sharing with you what I'm so excited is this is what's happening in WealthyU, is that people are accelerating their financial growth faster than ever before. I mean, they're hitting their seven figures at earlier ages. But what I want to tell you, it's never too late. So we have so many of our members achieving some amazing things by applying the strategy that you're going to hear me share with you today. So I'm going to share my screen. And let me just make sure. Can you all see my screen? Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, we're going to get right into it. As I shared with you briefly, just a little bit about myself. I'm Deborah Owens. I'm founder and CEO of WealthyU, also known as America's Wealth Coach, financial expert. I'm the author of 4 critically acclaimed books on personal finance, and I love, love, love to train. So not only am I working with individuals, but we go into organizations and share these strategies with employees because in many instances, far too many of us are not taking full advantage of compensation, 401k, and retirement. And for even those you are entrepreneurs, the same thing is true. Certainly, you have to create these types of strategies for yourself. But what I want you to know is it can be done. And so to that end, let me just move some of my things out of the way. There we go, and we'll get right into it. So before I get started, though, if you're here, if you're in the Zoom room with me, if you want to know how to register for the Zoom room, if you just go over to events, and the link to get into Zoom is right there. So I want to hear, just in the chat, where are you from and what do you do? So in the chat, just so I know who's in the room with me, if you could just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about what you do. Excellent. And then I'll give you some shout out as well. Hey, Nikki, it's good that you're here. Executive assistants, fantastic. Let's see who else is in the room with me. Okay, excellent. But what I'm really interested in is what did you hope to learn by attending this event? Certainly, I have a formal presentation, but what I like to do is tailor this for you. That's right. So Vanessa is a small business owner. And Vanessa, I think you've been on this training before, and actually, as a result, joined. So I want to welcome you as a new member to WealthyU. So you're a small business owner. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about the kinds of strategies that you need to be taking care of, taking advantage of as a small business owner as well. I'm going to pull up the event so that I can also see who is in the room, who is joining us live. Okay, fantastic. All right, so what did you hope to learn? If you can just type that in the chat as well, and we'll get right into it. So here's all I want you to know is for those of you who are joining me, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on LinkedIn, or whether you're here in the Zoom room with me, I want you to know that if you stay it to the end, you are going to get a gift. So here's the question I have for you, only for those of you who have not been in this presentation before. What is your highest monthly expense? Love to hear that. Put that in the chat. What is your highest monthly expense? Here's all I want you to know is some of you are going to be surprised when I share with you. And so before I get started into estimated taxes, that's right for a business owner. Here, I'm with you as well. So, I want to just really for a moment talk about who this webinar, this session is for. You could be the overachiever. You have high educational attainment. You've checked out all the boxes. You went on through your career. Maybe you're in the management track. Perhaps you're in a sorority or alumni association. You even may be a chair in your organization. You could also be an industry rock star. But in many cases, you're a conservative investor and you're in a very high tax bracket. If I described you, put me in the tax. Nikki said mortgage and taxes are her highest expense. That's right. Okay, if I described you, put me in the chat. Okay. The overachiever. Awesome. Okay. Don't be humble, you guys. So you could be the higher overachiever. Okay, Nikki, I described you. Now, perhaps you're a corporate trailblazer. First generation, postgraduate, you got your bachelor's, but you might even have an MD, an MBA, a JD. You could have made it to the senior manager or director ranks. And because of that, in your education, you could have high educational attainment, but also have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans. Your retirement savings is low relative to your earnings. And as a result, you could have a negative net worth. And you're in the highest tax bracket. If I described you, put me in the chat. Or perhaps you're even a late bloomer. You left the corporate fast track. Maybe you decided to stay home with your kids. You may have even used retirement savings. You're re-entering the workforce at a lower salary and you have inadequate retirement savings. If that is you, put me in the chat. Okay. And then finally, you're an entrepreneur. You left the corporate career with the cushy benefits to start your own business. You're consulting even as a solopreneur. You're trying to create that same financial security as a business owner. Your old employer plan may even still be sitting at your prior employer, and have no clue what to do next. If I described you, put me in the chat. And you could be a combination of all of these. You could have made it to director, then left and went out. If I described you, excellent. Well, here's what I want you to know is you're in the right place. But what I also want you to know is that you got the wrong blueprint. And that blueprint was the same blueprint I was given. And it wasn't until I discovered that I had the wrong blueprint, and I only discovered that from the career choice that I made. And so that's really what I want to share with you. And so this is my mother on the left, and that was her graduation picture, preparing to graduate, and then that is my graduation picture on the right. And my mother instilled in me that I needed to have a great education, that I needed to go into a career, that I needed to make that six figures and go beyond where she was able to, what she was able to achieve as the daughter of a sharecropper. And I took that to heart, and my mother did everything she could to make sure that that blueprint she gave me was, and that roadmap was one that I can follow, and I followed it to the T. I went on, but what I learned was that what my mother had given me was the earner mindset. She had taught me to earn as much as I can, and that is how I would be successful. But what I discovered is that in order to achieve true financial success, it's not enough to just earn money. You have to turn that income into wealth by becoming an owner. And I discovered that in my career. So just by happenstance, I interviewed for a role with Merrill Lynch. And when I went into that investment firm and I saw the ticker tape going over the desk, I was like, wow, this is something that I had never been exposed to and that my mother had never been exposed to. So of course that wouldn't be a part of the blueprint that she had for me. But it was then going on and being recruited by Fidelity Investments that I went on to become a financial consultant, branch manager, vice president, ran the marketing for the West Coast, that I discovered that the wealthy, the high net worth, they had a totally different blueprint than I had. And that really became the catalyst for me wanting to share all that I had learned, all those insights, all those secrets, if you will, of the wealthy. And so what do I mean by that? You're like, Deb, what do you mean they have a different blueprint? Well, why is it that the rich continue to get richer? And yet, going back to that question that I asked earlier about what your highest expense is, for most of us, it is taxes. And if you're a high earner, you're only earning over 100K, over 150K, and that income is being derived from W-2 income, there really is little you can do. And it's why you hear Warren Buffett say, I pay less in taxes than my secretary, right? Have you ever heard Warren Buffett say that? Or you look at these 1%er, the mega rich, and our marginal tax rate, right? If you look at the chart, is 24% versus they're in single digits. Now, the question I have for you is, does this make any sense? Welcome, Kimberly and Tyra. Welcome to the presentation. Does this make any sense? In the chat, I just want to hear, does this make any sense? Does it make sense for us to pay a higher tax rate than all of these wealthy individuals? Well, I say, everybody says no, 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 right? Well, here's what I want you to understand, and what I finally got exposed to. And when I did is, here I was making a very good living in the investment industry, but because most of my income came from compensation as a W-2 employee, I was being taxed at the highest tax rate. And so the point that I want to make and why I'm sharing these strategies, I'm going to share these strategies with you today is, it's not how much you make. It's not. It's how much you keep. And so it's so I know who's in the room. If you're a W-2 earner, if you derive most of your income from your employer, put me in the chat, just so I know. Okay, so what I had discovered was that the wealthy had secrets. And those that they knew the secrets, but more importantly, they understood how our financial system worked. And so they simply, it's not enough to get mad. You don't have to get mad. You just need to understand the game. And in the short period of time that I have with you today, that's actually what I'm going to share with you. So my first goal, though, I thought that maybe I could tell these secrets by just sharing it with the world. And so prior to leaving Fidelity, Fidelity sponsored my first radio show on the NPR affiliate in Baltimore. And I thought surely I could share with individuals everything that I'm learning and they could apply it. And then I thought, well, maybe that's not enough. And then I wrote my first book, Confident Investing. And in that book, I put everything I could, everything but the kitchen sink in it, of just about how the financial markets worked, right? And I thought surely this would be the way to convey this information. And so then I wrote my next book, A Purse of Your Own. And in that book, at the end of the book, I said, I'm going to have women start purse groups, 5 to 10 women get together. They apply these concepts to their own finances. Surely that will work. Well, here's actually a picture of that first purse group. And in fact, I think it's better if I show you. So that's the radio show. That's my first book signing with Confident Investing. This is me touring with God's leading ladies and then launching the A Purse of Your Own campaign and starting these purse groups. Here are the women who started one of our first purse groups. We launched over 1,400 of them. But guess what? They all faltered. And I'll tell you why. I didn't learn why until I launched WealthyU. And then here's me talking about the Purse of Your Own campaign, how I'm going to share all these secrets with women all over the world. I'm being interviewed by Kate Baldwin there. And then what I learned is that that wasn't enough. And so it wasn't until at the urging of my son, who said, Ma, you can give all the information. Now, mind you, I'm on my third book, right? You can give all the information in the world. People don't need knowledge, they need application. So that's the question I have for you, is how many of you have had books? You've had them all. Maybe Susie Orman, Young, Fabulous, and Broke. I mean, she's written a ton of them. Barbara Stanny, one of the heirs of the H.R. Block fortune, told her story about how her husband swindled her money. I mean, the point I want to make is that most books end up in what I call the book graveyard, and that is your local veterans or Goodwill, right? Once I launched WealthyU, everything changed, because it wasn't enough to just to give this knowledge. We had to apply it. And it's through, after launching WealthyU more than 7 years ago, that I created the blueprint. And that was the blueprint that I wasn't given, and now is responsible for helping thousands of mostly women accelerate their financial growth and hit their first 6- and 7-figure portfolios. And all I want to say, what I'm most excited about, is it's happening even younger, but it doesn't matter how long, is if you apply the strategies that I'm going to talk about, and that you're going to learn about some amazing stories in WealthyU. So this is Belinda. Before joining WealthyU, she had delegated all her investments to an advisor without understanding his recommendations. She was 20 years into her career and was not on track with her retirement savings. Her personal rate of return was less than 5%, and it was barely growing each year. Her advisor had transferred most of her funds into an annuity that had high fees and high surrender charges. She was in the highest income bracket as a high earner. Well, after joining WealthyU, one morning I got this text, and the text said, Deborah, I learned last night I've become one of those with a 7-figure retirement account. I cannot thank you enough. If only I had taken a class sooner. but it is as it should be. The point I want to make, ladies, is that if it can happen for Belinda, it can happen for you. And the only thing standing between you and the financial success you desire and you deserve really is knowledge. Access to the knowledge that, I learned that the wealthy know that we don't. And so this is Tanil. Before joining WealthyU, she had been investing in her 401k since high school. She didn't know how to analyze and research mutual funds. She had invested in her employer stock purchase plan, but she had no investments outside of her 401k. Since joining WealthyU, she learned how to analyze her portfolio. She achieved seven figures by the age of 40, and she's on her way to achieve multiple seven figures by 50. But I'm just going to tell this in her own words. So this is a testimonial that she gave. And I was like, Tanil, can I share this? Because so often women come into our WealthyU program, and as you can imagine, I don't really learn this until I don't know what necessarily is happening in their life, because unlike, I know you hear people saying you can make 100,000 in options and this sort of thing. No, the principles that you learn in WealthyU, you apply. It takes time, but it stands the test of time. So this is to Neil's most recent testimonial. While I've always been a saver and invested in my retirement funds since the age of 21, I wasn't at all clear on how to perform a fundamental analysis of a company. You started working with me in 2015 and introduced me to concepts that I had never seen before. It was both eye-opening and life-changing. Thanks in large part to your coaching, I reached the seven-figure mark at a relatively young age. There are still areas where I can tighten my belt. I think that's so funny. But she's not only, that's what I want you to understand, is these strategies about you living for today and tomorrow, right? So it's not enough to just say, I know you hear people talk about saving frugally, and yes, that is important, but we also have to make sure that we live for today. Agree or disagree with me in the chat. And so I'm frugal. I don't spend my money on depreciating assets. We talk about that a lot in WealthyU. I do love to travel. I was able to taking my mother to Kenya for the Great Migration, 2 business class seats. And I'm forever grateful for the work you do and how it has played a positive impact on my life and my investment accounts. And I'm on track to have a multi-seven-figure portfolio before my 50th birthday in 6 years. And so what I want you to know is that in WealthyU, we really have a blueprint, and that blueprint exposes you to the same strategies and concepts and gives you a fundamental understanding of how the financial markets work so that it can apply this. Is this exciting? Do you feel like, how many of you want to be Tanil, or how many of you want to be Belinda? If you see yourself as being one of these ladies, put me in the chat. Tyra says, I do. Excellent. Who else? I want you to claim this. What I want you to know is that Kimberly says, I do. Nikki says, me. What I want you to know, and what we're most proud of in WealthyU, is that it may not happen overnight. It happens over time. But when you finally get access to the knowledge that literally has been hidden from you, everything changes. And that's really what I share in my book, Wealth Secrets, just more of these amazing transformation, but not only the transformation, but the knowledge of how you get access to this information, you apply it, you learn how to pull the right levers. They're what we call investment opportunity levers. They're different for everyone. Many of you are not fully, I know we hear all of these stories, and it's funny. I was chuckling with a friend about, you're hearing all this stuff on social media. Start a course, you can make, $1 million, when in fact, many of you would already be millionaires if you understood how to leverage your compensation. Number one, get paid for what you work. And secondly, that you're leveraging your benefits, your 401ks, your HSAs. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. I get excited because I want you to know there's not one path to financial success. But one of the things I've learned after coaching thousands is that what is important is that you understand what your unique opportunities are, how you create value, and then you earn more income, but you take that income and you invest it into assets that are going to grow more rapidly. Here's the other point I want to make. You cannot save your way to wealth. And when you start to look at the numbers, particularly for women who are savers and not investors, the point I want to make is many of you are playing not to lose. And as a result, you cannot win. And it's interesting. I was talking with another business owner about her employees and how they were contributing in their 401ks. And I think the number she told me was over 70% were just in one fund, and that fund was a target date fund. And what I want you to know is you have to be who's willing to commit to increasing their knowledge and learning how to make their money grow faster. If you are committed to that, put me in the chat. I want to see who's committed, because what I want you to know in my frustration and why I work with employers is because they have this opportunity for you sitting right there, but it is not being properly leveraged or managed. So part of our company is WealthyU Workplace, where we actually go into state governments, individual, into corporations, into companies, really sharing, customizing our information so that you can apply it to your situation. Because the key is all of these plans are different. Question: how many of you, when you're looking at investment plans, retirement of 401ks, 403bs, 457s, your plans feel confused? If you feel like it's confusing and difficult to navigate, put me in the chat. If that's you, if you've tried to make the right choices, if you've tried to analyze what your programs are, yeah, that's right, Nikki, put me in the chat. Well, here's what I know. Some of you don't have many choices. And so that's why it's critical for you to not only invest in your 401k. I am not one of these people that say, don't invest in your 401k. No, that's what is going to give you the tax relief that you need, because when you contribute to that plan, and the higher your income, the more valuable a tax deferred 401k. Now, if you're earning below like, let's say if you're in 70s and you're making 70K or so, the lower your income, the less benefit tax deferral has for you. So in your case, you need to be taking advantage of a 401k Roth. So I just want to briefly kind of go over our legacy wealth. You know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to come back to this because who's ready for me to get to the strategies? Like who's ready? If you're ready for me to get to the strategy, put me in the chat. Nikki's yes. Okay. So, our mission, we teach first generation high earning women tax advantage strategies that turn their income into wealth. But in the book, there are 7 main secrets, but for today, because I have limited time, I'm going to double click on one, and it foundationally is the most important secret of all. And I need you to guys, I need all of you to understand that you have got to shift from earner to owner. Are y'all with me? Like, this shift is fundamental. And when you begin to shift from earner to owner, everything changes. So as I shared with you, how many of you were told earn as much as you can, and that's the secret to financial success? If that's the blueprint you were given, put yes in the chat. Earn, earn, earn. Hit that 6 figures. Hit multiple 6 figures. Well, what I want you to know is that income has to be turned into wealth. And unfortunately, for far too many of us, we are spending that money on, as Tanil said, assets that depreciate. So we buy the big car, we buy the big house, we buy all the things, and those things don't appreciate in value, no, nor do they give us any tax advantage strategies. And so one of the things that became clear and why I love this chart is that, as you can see, here's what the wealthy know and what I discovered the wealthy know. And this is what the government gives the biggest tax breaks. They invest and put their money in tax advantage investments. And one of the biggest, right, from an individual standpoint that all of us can take advantage of are tax cuts on dividends and capital gains. Also, defined contribution plan, right? So for us, the biggest tax break is shifting our income from just earning and paying expenses after being taxed to owning. Now, certainly, and this is interesting, I just saw a study on multicultural wealth by UBS, and particularly women and women of color, those in the highest who make it to what are called high net worth status, and that's $1 million in investable assets or more, typically they have a top W-2 and a side consulting type of business, which allows them to move some of that W-2, those expenses over to into deductions. But what I want you to know is it doesn't matter. The most important thing that you need to do to shift from earner to owner is to become an investor. And that being an investor means that you're investing in individual stocks, mutual funds that get preferential treatment. If it's in a deferred plan, of course, you don't get that benefit, but your money is growing without being taxed every year. That you put your money in investments that are paying dividends. One of the interesting observations that I made very, very early on in my career was that multi-generational wealth, typically what they inherited was stocks and stocks that paid dividend, and that went from generation to generations. Now, why is that important? That's important because dividends are taxed more favorably than W-2 income. Typically 15%, could go up to 21% depending upon what your tax bracket is, but a lot lower. So here's what I want you all to understand fundamentally is that you have to begin to make your decisions about your income. You have to turn that income into wealth. And one of the ways you do that, like the number of 401k plans that have hit 7 figures has doubled now. Why? Because certainly the market performance in this past decade has been one of them. Not that it hasn't been up and down, right? But when you begin to take full advantage of the opportunities that you have to become an investor, that's what makes all the difference. If this is making sense to you, put yes in the chat. I mean, fundamentally, I want you to understand that this is the most important thing that you need to understand, is that it is not enough to earn an income. I need to get affirmative for everyone in the chat. I need you to shift from earner to owner, right? And from earner to owner means that you are going to learn how to invest and invest your funds in assets that are going to appreciate and also that are tax advantaged. Again, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep. Okay, so let me keep going. So here's someone who did just that. Dia, high earner, low investment returns, no investments outside of her 401k. In fact, if you look on my LinkedIn page, we just did a really big event and Dia was just sharing her experience. Now she knows how to analyze, optimize, and maximize all of her 401k options. She's established a brokerage account and built. Now this is killer. Once she learned how to analyze and research stocks, she built a stock portfolio that had a 194% return in 4 years. She's invested in real estate, also art, she shared with us, and established investment accounts for her children. This is another client who had no stock investments. I just want you guys to see what happens when you make the shift, who had no stock investments at all. Lot in real estate. The only thing she had done was invest in her mutual funds. She had limited exposure to analyzing and researching stocks, but she did have a high penchant for risk. Now, this was really, really, I didn't, but her story is she now is the launched a venture capital firm, Open Venture Capital, and now she's helping small companies get access to capital. So the point I want to make is that these are the strategies that high earners use, right? You've got to take advantage of all of your benefits and be strategic. How many of you have an HSA account? If you have an HSA account, put me in the chat. Okay, or if you don't know, a health savings account is an account that's triple tax-free, that allows you to put the money in, invest it. You can use it for health reasons, but the beauty of this account is that you can allow that money to grow. And if you want to eventually use it for expenses in retirement or income in retirement, you'll be able to do that as well. Some of you are 10 feet away from gold. You need to be taking care of your traditional and Roth style 401k deferrals. That is now up to $23,000, I think is the maximum, and $30,000 if you're over 50. Traditional and Roth style IRAs, they now have $1,000 catch-up provision as well. You may feel like, how many of you feel like I've tried Roth IRAs and I didn't qualify for them? Well, you can do what's called a backdoor IRA, where you don't get to deduct the funds initially, but you can backdoor it and convert it into a Roth. You can do, that's right. So that was the next line, after-tax IRA contributions to be subsequently converted to a Roth. After-tax 401 contributions to be subsequently converted to Roth. Like, what many of you don't realize is some of you have additional plans that allow you to not only put in the 401k, but they are also deferred compensation plans that you can plan for retirement. And then you can use all other kinds of tax strategies. But here's what I want you to know. This is tax advantage growth. When you begin to build a stock portfolio that is paying off, that is not only growing, and when you sell it as a capital gain, you're going to pay low taxes. But if they're paying dividends as well, you're going to pay a much lower rate on the income from that. And then, we get into estate planning, a little bit more complicated. But the average person, really, if you want to create intergenerational wealth, you need to be thinking about estate planning and putting your funds in a trust to make sure that whether you have children, so that if something were to happen to you, you don't want them to get a lump sum of money in a trust. You can determine exactly how much they've received. All I want you to know is this, is that the knowledge that high net worth individuals have versus what we have, in many cases, it's not that you don't have the opportunity, it's just that you don't understand what the opportunity is. And I'm going to give you all a get out of free jail card. Okay? So here's all I want to say. as many of you, let me just stop sharing for a minute because I want to talk to you guys. Okay. Listen, how many of you have a BA, a bachelor's degree? If you have a bachelor's degree, put me in the chat. How many of you have an MBA? Anybody got an MBA or a master's or an MSW? Did any? Okay, so Nikki says me, right? How many of you have a JD? So yes, you have your bachelor's. So the question I want to ask you is, how many of you have gotten these degrees, but were never taught how to invest? When you went through your coursework, was there a course that told you about the fundamentals of the investment markets, how they work, the difference between a stock and a mutual fund, right? This is what I want you to know. That's right, Cheryl. You are not taught this through your formal education, right? And so as a result, so many folks feel shame about not understanding their 401k or what they need to do. Listen, the only thing standing between you and the financial success you desire and deserve is knowledge. And most of that knowledge, to be honest with you, even if you go into an investment company, if you're not considered high net worth, right, then you don't get access to the strategies that I've shared with you today. So let me land this plane. All I want you to know is that Fidelity just came out, and now people are hitting $1 million in their 401k earlier. So if you put the maximum in 20 years, you can get to over $1 million, meaning you contribute a 401k and you're over 50 in a catch-up contribution. Let's say you put the maximum in your 401k a year. You can still get to $1 million. Let's say you have $1,000 a month that you can contribute. That's $250 a week. You still get to $500,000. All I want to tell you is many of you are 10 feet away from gold, but because you don't know how to analyze what we call in WealthyU, analyze, optimize, and maximize your returns or your investments, your money's not growing. And so that's what I share in my book, Wealth Secrets. And as I said, for those of you who stayed, you're going to get an actual copy of that book. So we'll be sending it out via email. But for those of you who really want to learn how to analyze and optimize your investments, the other thing I wanted to do for you today is to be able to give you an opportunity to have in WealthyU what we call a wealth audit. And so if you're ready to learn about what you need to look at in order to apply your accelerate your financial growth, one of the things I want to share with you is the opportunity to have what we call a wealth audit. So if you, Anita, can put the link in the chat, or if you take out your camera and you take a picture of that QR code, one of the things you're going to be able to do is go right to my calendar. If you just click on the yellow bit.ly link and schedule a session with me, right? And let me just talk about what that session is like. You are going to go through what we call, or identify what your wealth gap is, and identify if you've got that middle-class mindset or earner mindset or owner mindset. The second step of the session is we're going to help you calculate your financial freedom factor based on what you have right now. What are the levers that you need to pull to make sure you have enough to retire on, taking into account all of the investment opportunities that you have in front of you. And then finally, we are actually going to create your seven-figure legacy wealth blueprint. Uh, Again, everyone who stayed to the end is going to get a copy of my book. I'll leave that up for just a minute, take a picture of it. But I'd love, love, love to give you the opportunity to see what do you need to do to get further faster. You know, you saw Tennille, she was saying, yeah, I applied this stuff, but Tennille was very young when she started with me, right? And now she's already hit 1 million at 40 and we'll multiply that. What I want you to know is that it's different for everybody. But this is what I've learned in WealthyU. You know, I was sharing this with on an appointment that I had earlier today. And it was that for more than 7 years, not 7 years, for 5 years, all I did was individual coaching. I didn't have WealthyU or Blueprint. And COVID came and it forced me to launch what are our programs now, our group coaching programs. I still have some one-on-one clients, but for the most part, the power of WealthyU is really the community. In WealthyU, you're going to meet women just like yourself who knew nothing. And now they have built a portfolio. They are buying their second homes. They're investing in real estate. And what I want you to know, if it can happen to you, can happen for them, it can happen for you. And who just happens to be here with me today, staffing me, actually two of the team members are here, is Anita. She's one of our WealthyU ambassadors, and she facilitates our analyzing and researching stock. Anita, if you could just say hello to everyone and say that you were here attending one of my sessions at some point, and now just what your role here is in WealthyU.
Yes, so glad to see you ladies and glad that I am here. Glad that I am part of the Wealth of You community. And just like Deborah alluded to, I knew nothing. I was one of those persons that thought, I was already in the banking business, so I thought I should just automatically know all these strategies, and I did not. So it's like comparing oranges to apples. You have to go to someone that's been there and done that. And Deborah definitely has been there and done that. So when I reached out to her, she helped empower me I can't even imagine all the things that I have been able to accomplish and the things that I've learned that I didn't think I was really capable of doing. But if I can do it, you ladies can do it as well. So I saw a couple of faces here or names here that have been hanging around for a while, and I want to welcome them back and tell you that it's not too late. I know you came back for a reason, so just get started. We're here, and we're just not going to leave you stranded out there. We're a group of sisterhood that we inspire each other and we help uplift each other. And no man gets left behind, no woman gets left behind.
I
So
love that.
definitely come into the group, get all the information that you can and learn how to execute on that, right? So glad to have you here. And again, like Deborah said, I'm now teaching the research and analyzing stock classes, which is amazing to me. I can't even believe that I'm doing that, but I'm growing, and learning each day. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Anita. And also joining us, she's in her car. I appreciate you, Sharice, another one of our ambassadors and member success advisors. Say hello, Sharice.
Hello, ladies, and welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. Basically, they talk about proximity is everything. I've known Deborah since, I guess, probably 2018, before the WealthyU online phase. I was one of her personal coaching clients. And all I'm going to say is that she's probably already told you guys all of this. The best way to know is that you have to jump in and just do it. And like I tell a lot of as a member success advisor, I tell a lot of the ladies that I speak to, it's never too late. You can't give up, and it's all about you. This is about you and your personal finances, your financial future, not anyone else's, not your mama, not your daddy's. It's about you. So the way you treat yourself Financial health is also self-care. So taking care of your investments and looking at what you make and how you can make it better is, like we say, maximize, optimize, and we analyze, we then maximize and optimize all of that in WealthyU. So join us in the community. And like Anita said, we are a sisterhood. We actually take that seriously. We really spend time talking to people and really walking along with you. So just take the plunge if you haven't already.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sharice. I appreciate that. And you know what I love? I mean, the commitment. Many of these women are giving of their time, are supporting others, and they believe so much in our mission, And our mission is to help 1 million of you get to 1 million, right? We know it is an ambitious goal, but what I'm most excited about is it just continues to happen no matter just when I'm ready to give up. Right. I get one of those testimonials from someone, Miss Owens, I'm just checking in. I meant to tell you, I just hit my first 6 figures. I just hit my first 7 figures. And that lets me know that we're on the right assignment. But more importantly, it's not enough to have knowledge. It's not enough to have information. What we provide is insight. And so many of you I know may feel like you've tried everything, or do any of you feel like I should be further ahead? I don't understand why. If that's you, put me in the chat. Do any of you feel like, wow, I did everything I was told and I don't have the outcome that I anticipated? If that's you, put me in the chat. What I want you to know is that you were given the wrong blueprint. And that if you take advantage of our wealth audit, I'm going to give you a step-by-step program on how the Tennills, the Diaz, it's the exact roadmap blueprint that they took to accelerate their financial growth. And what I want you to know is if they can do it, you can do it too. Only thing standing between you and the financial success you desire and deserve really is knowledge, right? Like, so many of you have tried a lot of different things. You budgeted, you saved, and yet, what about me? How come things aren't working out the way that you plan? Well, listen, the reason it's not working out is because you've had the wrong blueprint. And in WealthyU, we want to give you the right blueprint. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of our wealth audit session. And after that session, we'll be able to share with you, exactly what is the program in WealthyU that's going to get you the furthest, the fastest. Not only that, you have support from member success advisors like Anita and Sharice. And so come on in, the water's fine. I hope you found this of value today, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future. You guys have a great evening, a great afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you on some more of our sessions and in the WealthyU community.